before we get into it, let me just make some corrections from my previous spoilers video because I didn't have all of the information at that time, as I pointed out. It turns out that the vial of blood that Toga had actually belonged to Twice. So that's probably going to be a huge plot point going forward. We're definitely going to see the Sad Man's Parade coming back, but probably at a much grander scale. I know all of you know that, but I just want to put it out there for the record. The chapter begins with two civilians inside UA passing a message between each other that All for One is back giving orders. He asks them to create an uprising of some kind involving the refugees who still doubt the heroes. Shigaraki should be ready in less than a week. They need to make sure Midoriya gets out of UA again. In the dorms, we see the students returning, exhausted from patrol. Ida's new uniform allows his mask to disassemble automatically, and he tells them how important it is that they are out on the streets helping the professionals, and that there is no time to complain or rest. Okay, so I'm assuming it's like one of these things. And we're also getting a time update on Shigaraki. We now have a week left on the ticking clock, and I'm just hoping that Horikoshi plans on using this week wisely. Also, as for Shigaraki's completion, in the previous chapter, there's another thing that I wasn't able to see, but he's going like full-blown Tetsuo from the Akira movie in that chapter, which is like Horikoshi paying homage to that whole sequence. I mean, it is pretty iconic, and it's pretty darn aesthetic, so I can't blame him for that. But just like in the Akira movie, and I keep saying the movie because the manga which it is based off of is different. You should really check out the Akira manga if you haven't. It's probably one of the best ever. But Tetsuo got to a point of where he was no longer able to control the new psychic powers that he had developed, and it eventually led to him having like this forced metamorphosis where he started to become something out of like a science experiment. You know, when you like put two things in a beaker and then and it's pretty apparent that Shigaraki is mirroring that, because All for One says, "Worry not, Tomura is recovering well," as he conquers the Quirk Doomsday Theory. That is essentially the crux of All for One's master plan here. Because Dr. Yujiko, the originator of the Quirk Singularity Theory, aka Quirk Doomsday Theory, told All for One that like, hey, your software can become as strong as you want it to be, but your hardware is not going to be able to keep up with it. So that's why he crafted this new hardware in Shigaraki to be a vessel to contain this incredible amount of software. And I'm not saying that that's what the Quirk Singularity is. I've made tons of videos on it, guys. I'm pretty sure we all are aware of what it literally is at this point. I'm just talking more in the specific context of All for One and Shigaraki. But this whole Tetsuo flesh anomaly thing is for sure going to come back. Not sure how soon we'll see it, but I'm assuming at the minimum we're going to see it in the final battle against Izuku. Like, it's eventually going to get to the point of where Shigaraki loses control and he goes full-blown Tetsuo on him. And, you know, Izuku's gonna save him. I already made a video about where I think the end of the series is going. You can check it out here. Deku comments internally that he wanted at least some time to talk about something and looks at Uraraka. He is distressed that he hasn't been able to properly thank her yet. Not gonna make any comments on that yet. We'll just see where it's headed. All Might arrives at the dorm accompanied by Tsukuuchi and Nezu. I talk about this a lot on Twitter, but not so much in these videos, but don't trust Tsukuuchi. And you already know my thoughts on Nezu. Momo asks if they have come to give news about Aoyama. Tsukuuchi confirms, and All Might says he also has one more matter, one that only a small group of people can know about. They will discuss Plan B for the final battle. Next, we see a montage with several characters. Hawks, Ragdoll, Endeavor, and Genus are talking in a destroyed room. Endeavor looks at a pad of papers and makes a sad face. Aizawa is in the hospital watching Kurogiri. Interesting. So Kurogiri is back in the picture again, and I've talked about him in another video as well. Pretty sure Kurogiri is going to get rewound back to Shirakumo, you know, before the end of the series. But Kurogiri's quirk is super important to the end game of the series as well. Aoyama is in the cell, and the students are listening to what All Might has to say. The next day, the refugees are discussing an announcement the principal made earlier. He said that Shigaraki must start moving in just 4 days. The civilian from earlier in the chapter who was passing the message from All for One looks shocked. Class A is about to leave UA and thanks everyone. Kota asks if Deku is really leaving and he confirms, saying that he has rested enough to get all the mud off. Snipe says that everyone's safety is their priority and asks them to remain calm even if the UA barrier gets activated. UA barrier getting mentioned here again. The infiltrator thinks this is stupid, and the best thing to do would be for the heroes to stay in UA, but he is satisfied that the order to send Midoriya out has been fulfilled somehow. We see a sequence of panels of students saying goodbye, showing Inko, the Todorokis, Bakugo, and Jiro's parents, Eri, and even the giant lady shaking hands with Shoji. I guess the giant lady is the heteromorphic that we saw in the Dark Deku arc or Deku Black arc. The class goes to a facility located 30 kilometers from UA called Troy. We all know the story of Troy, and if you haven't, read up on it or watch that movie with Brad Pitt because it's pretty cool. It was built by Cementos, Power Loader, and Ectoplasm, and is much like a dormitories with everyone having their own room. Okay. So we got 3 names there. Cementos, who I trust fully, and he is a great man, and I will never suspect him of any wrongdoing. Ectoplasm, I don't really trust him as much as Cementos, but he kind of has that gang orca thing going on where he looks like a villain, but I'm pretty sure he's not. However, Power Loader, I wouldn't trust this guy just yet. Pretty suspicious of him, especially how his quirk works. No, that doesn't mean Hatsume is suspicious as well because she's affiliated with him. This is just mainly Power Loader that I don't trust. Deku looks out the window and sees that Uraraka is alone outside, so he jumps out and goes to meet her. After asking if she is done emptying her bags, he thanks her for the speech she gave. She says that she didn't do anything too big, and that she's making a big deal out of something so small, as he always does. He asks why she was alone outside, and she says she is watching the city. A moment of silence follows. She says she thinks she's strange, and Deku disagrees vehemently, citing several of her good points: her strength, courage, kindness, and even her hairstyle. Ooh. Uraraka is embarrassed and asks him to stop. She thinks she is strange because at that moment, when she was speaking at the top of UA, she remembered Toga. When they faced each other during Gigantomachia's stampede, Uraraka told her that she considered right, but Toga only replied with a sad expression. She understands that the destroyed city she now observes is a consequence of actions of villains like Toga, but she feels uncomfortable not knowing what's her point of view. She says that looking at the city in a way to remember all of this evil so that she won't think about these things and do something stupid. Deku says he understands her because he saw a young boy crying inside Shigaraki. Even though confrontation is inevitable, he doesn't want to ignore that side. Uraraka looks at him, reflects, and says that in this case, the two of them are quite strange. Bakugo, Ida, and Kirishima go to Todoroki's room. He thanks them for their concern, but says that he is fine. Ida comments that because he has an older brother, he understands Shoto's pain a little. But Shoto himself says that it must have been much heavier for him because he and Tensei are close. Shoto himself didn't even know what Toya liked. Bakugo jokes that it's probably hot udon, and Todoroki smiles. Oh, Bakugo. Saying that if that's the case, then they can eat it together. He ends by saying they will stop Toya for sure, and we see a glimpse of Deku and Uraraka watching the city once again. The chapter ends with All For One holding a communicator and saying, "Let's get started." The narration informs, day of the planned start. Today. Okay, so I guess the week is over and we're going into the final arc of the series now. That makes sense because Horikoshi said at Jump Fest in December that My Hero has like 1 year left or something. I'm paraphrasing, but I'm pretty sure he meant that, you know, it's probably going to end in December or something. And to be honest, I'm totally at peace with it. I mean, I was kind of ready for it to come to an end back in the war arc, but I'm just really grateful for the extended amount of time that we were given since then. But let me know what you think about these spoilers in the comments, and if you like the video, guys, just subscribe and have a great day.